All right, so what you guys saw in the last section is one of the things I did a couple times is I put a softbox behind her. Now, one of the things I like to do is I like to shoot with my 4x6 softbox or something called a scrim. And a scrim is usually a large frame with diffusion material in the middle. You can use it in the middle of the day to soften the sun, or you can actually use it as a light source. And it's really nice because it'll become like a big softbox. Problem is, certain scrims are $400 or $500 depending on the size you get. And a 4x6 softbox, first of all, it's unwieldy, it's really big, but again, that's another expense, another cost. So we're going to create much larger of a softbox than you really can even buy, and for $3. Okay, so let's take a look at this cost-effective lighting setup. The setup we have right here is a bed sheet from a bargain bin at Goodwill. Okay, so it's just an inexpensive bed sheet that we have here, and we're going to light it from behind. Really, in a softbox, when you're like just a regular softbox, how it's built is the light hits the material in the front, and that's what makes it broader and softer. The light itself is small, but as it travels and hits the material in the front, it then becomes a large light source. So instead of having the confines of a softbox, we're going to kind of use that same logic and make our own. It's our own softbox scrim setup. So we're going to take a look at this. So we've got that bed sheet, and it's just attached between two light stands. We just have it, clamped up at the top. And then if you come around behind here, this is for our next setup. So ignore this. This is doing nothing. There's only so much space here. Okay. So we've got two lights with zoom reflectors on them. Here are your considerations. If you're using Profoto, or depending on the brand you want the light to spread out and light as much of that sheet as possible. Because if you only light a little spot in the center, that's all that'll be lit. You want to have it to be a nice, even light source. So there's two things. If you're shooting with Profoto, when you add this reflector, I don't know if you can see it from the front, but where you move the reflector actually zooms or expands the light. So this zooms it in, and this expands it out, which means when you have this all the way back, the light's further up, it'll spread out more. You want it to spread out more because the goal is to light as much of this sheet as possible. Similarly, you don't want to have this light right here. And so it's the bucket of water example. If I have a bucket of water and I'm standing right next to the bed sheet and I throw it, it's only going to hit a very small area. If I back up, the water has more time to spread out and will get more of the bed sheet wet. So I'm going to want to back this up a little. And we are using studio strobes here, but you could do this with speed lights. You just maybe need a little more if you need a little bit more power, but you could totally do this with speed lights and a bed sheet. So I've got it backed out a little bit, making sure my zoom reflector is back so the light can spread. You don't want to use anything like a strip bank or barn door. You want that light to spread out. And one thing you might consider is you might consider having one light a little lower than the other. So one that's a little higher, pointed more towards the top of the sheet, one's a little bit lower, so that you'll get more even lighting top to bottom. You can do it with two lights. I mean, if you have more, sure, throw more lights at it if you want it to be more even, but two lights is going to be fine. So let's come take a look at this. All right, hi. I have my lovely model here, and this goes back to the creativity part. We're going cost effective, but creativity, every single shoot you do, ever, if you want it to be successful, you really have to ask yourself, what's the point of this shoot? Because what I end up seeing is I'll see a model in a field in a futuristic silver outfit with crazy green makeup. And I'll think, okay, so why the field? Why the green makeup? Like maybe if they were going alien, but it didn't go alien. It's just a girl in a futuristic thing in a field. And so I keep focusing on like, what's the point? There wasn't an idea. Always have a concept here. So for this, we're going for like a little higher key and a little more glam. So I wouldn't want dark, dramatic makeup. And I wouldn't want, maybe creepier, dark clothing. This is going to be light that glows and wraps around her. So in other words, every shoot that I do, before I do it, I say, okay, what's the point? And then how can the pose work to the point? And the light work to the point? And the dress work to the point? And the props and all of it, the location. Because far too often things are random and then you just fixate on that and it pulls away from the point of the shoot. So I've got this lovely sparkly gown that I have on her, and this is one of the dresses from my dress company, Dream Shoot Rentals. So we're going to photograph her, and I'm not going to shoot totally full length, although I could, and this is significantly bigger than I would get with a 4x6. Now I can light her whole body easily. All right, so right now I have no lights in the front, just lighting with those 2 lights in the back. And if I paid attention to my camera's meter, let's say I metered this correctly, okay? Just, you're perfect the way you are right there. I would get something about like this next photo that's about to pop up. Okay, the light would be something like this, which it could be okay if you want a relatively even white background, and then look at the light that wraps around her clavicles and around her jawline, because it is a big light source and it just wraps around her in all directions. So it might be a pretty shot that you could do for a maternity session if you turn someone to the side, or could be a dancer where you do a really elegant pose. But I'm going to completely ignore what metering would suggest. And I'm not going to add a main light. I'm going to creatively ignore everything with exposure and do whatever I want, because that's what creativity is all about. So I'm going to open up now, and I'm going to go like several stops, like 2.5 to 3 to 4 stops overexposed from what my meter would suggest. It really just depends on how high key you want to go. And so I'm going to have you kick your right knee way over. Perfect. Arch your lower back a little bit. Great. And I'm going to have you put your hand on your hip. Perfect. And can you put this hand up here? Great. All right, let's try something like that. And then chin to your left. Perfect. A little bit further to your left, right there. So let's try that. And a little softer on the backhand. Good. Beautiful. Take a look. Great. And now close your eyes and chin up even more. Let's go a little brighter. Okay. And pop that knee up just a little bit higher. You can bring it in the front if you need. Good. Good. And close your eyes again. So I can go super ethereal and wrap around. That's probably a little brighter than I'd want to go. We bring it back in a little bit. Now I'm going to have you try put this arm really high up and then reach this one over to it high. Good. And roll your head into it. Perfect. As much arch as possible. Close your eyes. Great. And now turn your chin hard to your left. Good, right there, perfect. And left arm a little bit higher, like reach it up that way. And instead of wrapping your fingers around, just I'll tell you why, right now the way she's doing this, I see nub fingers. So I want her to reach up higher. Maybe if, like right now I'm okay with this hand, but right, this one I want on this side. So it's more angular, more linear, soft, curvy. Good, and chin hard to your left. Great, here we go. And lean that way, good. Okay, so, and I'm gonna do one more a little brighter, last one. Good. Good. Perfect. So it's super soft and super ethereal and really dreamy. If I wanted more light in the front, I could do 2 things. I could add another light, or basically this sheet is a giant light source. That's exactly what it is. So if you have a piece of foam core, you could put the foam core, you know, taped on a stand next to you, and what'll happen is that backlight will hit the foam core, bounce off of that and hit your subject and add a little bit of fill. Or if you got a silver reflector, you could stick that next to you. If you have a cake pan and you don't have a reflector, that will kick some light as well. You could do a lot of different things like that, or if you're in a small space, you could put your back right up against a white wall. And if you're right up against the white wall, the light's gonna bounce off, hit that white ball behind you, and act as a giant reflector. So these are all different things you could do with this. So the bed sheet becomes a giant softbox scrim for $3. So I like that one. And he's gonna bring that over. Questions on that? Okay.
The questions that had come in, I think you already answered in terms of could you use speed lights to do the same type of setup And so you've said yes on that. Anything to add about white balancing or using spot metering, those couple of things?
So in this, I'm basically ignoring my meter, because first of all, if I use my in-camera meter, it's strobe, so it doesn't know. But then if I'm metering, it's a creative exposure, so I ignore that. For the, go ahead, John.
Okay. To the producer.
For those backlights, probably with speed lights, you might need a couple more. If you're gonna do an entire full length shot. They have smaller heads, and the light might not spread out as much, or if you pull it back too far, they might not quite have enough oomph to light the whole thing. But if you shoot really wide open, you could probably get something just about the same.
All right, great. Any more questions here in the studio audience? I think we're gonna check and see if our next model is ready, or were we using the same model?
I'm using a different model.
Okay.
So I might have to wait for a second.
We are
Sorry.
checking. Did you have a question?
What's that? Oh, we can try it. Sure. No? Okay. All right. We'll see. We can see if it works. He's going to hold the cake pan for me while we wait for model change. Okay. So we, just raid the, kitchen.
The face is going that way, so let's try to fill from this side.
Okay. So same pose for me. So he came over this way so he could fill from that direction. And let's see. Perfect.
This is unrehearsed.
Unrehearsed. And can you bring it up in a little bit closer? You can bring it in, right there. And I might have to clone out a little bit of his hand, but it actually does light it up. See, it just fills it in, gives directional light. So if you got a cake pan, you can use a cake pan, or tin foil wrapped around something. Yeah.
I've never actually seen the prism used. I was wondering if in this situation, would a prism work or no? Too much of the surrounding light and stuff.
So, do you mean the prism mirror one or the crystal?
Mirror. The mirror. Sorry, I called it prism. I meant.
No, well, it's a prism.
I don't
it's
know.
Cool. Yeah. It totally is. Let's see.
Okay.
I'm gonna see. Will you be my holder? Well,
Yeah.
I usually can, but I'm kind of.
I'll try.
I might switch. Oh wait, I might need my other lens. Okay, so let me show you a sample here. Can you turn your head again to your left? Good. Here, I'll show you what it looks like. I like it. It looks good. The key is that depending on how big you make your prism, you can have different lenses that you can use. Because right now, I've got, what is this, 82 millimeter. It's struggling to fit in the front. A 77 millimeter front would work better.
And you're talking about the size of
The
the
size
lens,
of
not
this.
the focal length.
Not the focal length. Right. Filter size. It's like just a little bit too big. Can I do a couple more? Of
course.
Because I wanted to demo it, but now I'm like, oh, that's actually quite nice. But all right, what I was going to demo, let's see if I can do it. Okay, so it's different zoom things. We're getting there, but we're getting there now, so it's good. Okay, so let's just do this one. So I can include the edges of it more. Okay, or can you grab out of my bag there's a 16 to 35. I'm gonna show that one. Okay, we're going closer. Okay, perfect. Good, right there. Good. All right, and I'm just gonna switch lenses because this one will fit inside and then we get multiple reflections.
Got it.
Thank you, John. So my 16 to 35, I'm gonna go for a ton of reflections, but I'm probably gonna see some ceiling. This should be okay. Let's see. Not quite. This one's a little small. I have a bigger one at home, but I didn't want to take the big one. Okay, let's try this. This should work. You'll get the idea. Oh, thanks, John. So, with this one, this was shot more at 16. So if you're shooting out in location, it repeats and repeats and repeats and repeats. If you can actually fit the lens inside of it, then you would be able to see more of her. But from further back, you see more of environment. So if the lens is actually in it, you'll see more reflections of her. And the lens that I used last time I shot this was the Canon 180 macro, and that fit in the front of it. And I shot macro shots, so just eyes and lips and stuff like that. It's really fun. Yeah.
Which lighting set are we going to?
We're going to fluorescent.
Just the two.
next.
Okay, so
Yeah.
this is coming down.
Okay, so I think we're good on that. You're beautiful. Thank you.
Thank you.